This is audio. Well, it's audio blog 2 and 2. We're
Yeah.
talking about storyboarding and editing mainly. Now, the main thing we've done is we've got two separate storyboards. One with just the narrative on. It shows the story, the plot, you know, the general gubbins of a narrative, really. The second
ideas we've laid out. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. The second storyboard, that's purely just for shot types. We've had to number each square on the first storyboard and then done it on the consecutive storyboard. So the second storyboard, each square shows in depth exactly what's happening with the camera, the editing, everything, because it's so experimental, this film, and how we're going to make it, we need to be really in depth about it.
We're planning on using multiple layered shots, stop motion, cloning. We'll also be using, for the titles, we'll plan on using a smoke effect on the titles to look like it's coming out of the cigarette.
We're very lucky to be blessed with a full Adobe suite with all the effects programs and everything, so we have the means to do this.
We're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah.
Aye. What else do we need to discuss about editing?
We plan on using an old jazz track. We've researched into it, and the copyright is now void. So we
Pieces
can.
That's old. There's no copyright on it now.
Artist's been dead for 70 years, so we're able to use the track. And
we've also composed a piece of it.
Yeah, we've also composed a piece. At the minute, it's just piano, guitars, drums, and a little bit of fretless bass.
It's almost got like a prog rock feel to
Yeah.
it, hasn't it?
It's mainly done in MIDI instruments at the minute, but the real recording will be done in real instruments.
Now, throughout our story, there's no diegetic sound, really, there's none of it.
No.
She's not talking throughout. However, we're planning to use a voiceover, or the protagonist can narrate over herself, as if she's speaking in her own mind, she's talking to herself.
That'll be me.
But that'll be narrating the story throughout over this piece that Zach has written. But this film, as it peaks as it builds up and builds up and builds up, she enters a stage that we're calling limbo, where she's on. How can you explain limbo? It's almost.
It's like
the middle ground between
of
dead and.
everything.
She's kind of lost in her own mind.
Yeah.
But she enters an empty white space, which is deadly silent. And I'll just look forward to seeing it. I guarantee it's going to be good.
Yeah, this limbo scene, we've looked quite closely into 2001: A Space Odyssey, and now they show their ending scene with him getting progressively older.
It's kind of reborn.
Yeah.
It's sort of what we're going for.
Yeah.
And it was all filmed in one shot as well.
Yeah, one shot.
Yeah.
It's like a 1.5-minute sequence, and we wanted to do that to continue, make it look fluid. It can't look like it's just jumped from her sat in a chair to entering this empty white space. It needs to be fluid. It needs to move. It needs to flow right. Well, we're almost going for like a Tarantino sort of style, because most of the film, the main character's just sat in this chair. She's not doing anything. She's barely moving. It's almost as if the setting's in her mind, though. All the film, all the narrative, everything's coming from inside her head rather than anywhere else. It's just going to be really hard to portray.
Yeah, if we track back to the limbo bit, there's a scene where there's a mirror in the room, and she sees herself, but really clean and sharply dressed.
In comparison to what she's like in limbo and
It's like
normal life, she's
if
ruined.
she hadn't been on
She hadn't gone
on
down
the
this
drugs,
bad path.
then this is what she would have looked like.
And there's almost like a realisation in her mind. She realises this is what it looked like when she doesn't do drugs.
Yeah.
But then she escapes limbo. The characters switch around in the mirrors. She escapes limbo. But then we're quite clever about it. She just wakes up as if, she's
As
seen
if
this
it was a
realisation.
dream, something kind of cheesy.
But she was tripping, she was in a dream. But she wakes up and then the cycle starts again. We've done this film in like a loop, you see. We haven't discussed that.
Yeah. The jazz track at the beginning of our film, where she's smoking a cigarette, it's the same scene at the end of the film. She puts on the jazz track and smokes a cigarette. And we've got this idea from Pulp Fiction, how the start shows the robbery, and at the end it's the same robbery, just in more detail.
So it's almost as if the film's a continuous loop.
Yeah.
I think that's the end of, audio blog 2, 3. Which one was it?
2.
Two.
Number 2.